guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. We're going to answer questions from last week's videos, and Aaron has gathered all the questions and he did include the top comment. So I'm going to be going through like the top comment of every video at the beginning. I think that's interesting.
Which I noticed wasn't always the comment that had the most likes on it. I don't know how YouTube decides what the top comment is.
Is there engagement below it, like more comments?
Yeah, but like one of them I noticed didn't have a ton of likes and only had like 2 replies. So anyway, it's just what I see as the top comment. So
I thought that would be fun. And you don't ever gather as many comments as I do. When I go through and gather comments, I'll gather like 20 questions from every single video, and then it makes the video really long. And I see that you've gathered like 5 or 6. So if this video is short and you don't like it, it's Aaron's fault. Actually, it'll be nice because we have a lot of stuff going on right now, and we probably should keep recap videos a little bit more condensed.
They also take a really long time to edit.
They do, yeah. So thank you, Ken, for your work on that.
Ken was working on something else, and I started editing last week's recap. So we got the last week's recap up at like Thursday or Friday.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Last week we were a little bit...
Oh, hi, Benjamin.
Hey, bud. What are you doing? Yeah, I can see you too. Yeah, Kitty's out here. Russell. Keep your tail down.
Anyway, I started editing it, and I was reminded about how hard, like how long they are to edit.
Yeah.
They just take a long, long time.
Let's get into the first video, which was planting 45 varieties of seed. I have no idea how many varieties I have going in the studio right now, but a lot. In that video, it doesn't necessarily mean I planted 45 trays, because some of the trays, like the milkweed tray, I planted 5 varieties, I think, in that one tray. So I think it was 22 trays altogether, with 45 varieties. They're all looking great out in the studio right now. Like a lot of them are already up, like the Mahogany Splendor. Is that what it's called? Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus. The whole tray's up. The stock, the asters, they're all up except for the freaking Bengal frost asters. I don't know what is wrong with that plant. Like, I don't know if it's just me, but every single time it's a botanical interest seed. So maybe I should contact them and be like, what gives here? Like, do I not know how to start this seed? Every time I try it, they like... none of them come up. Wow. Or just a couple.
Crop failure.
Crop failure. Just label it crop failure.
Yeah.
It's fine. So the top comment from this video is from Juan. He said, tours, we need tours, garden tour, nursery tour, cold frame tour, parents garden tour, and don't skimp because of time. We can handle a 2-hour tour. When will the tours be back? Well, 2 of last week's videos was kind of a tour. Like we went down to the garden center to show you the new loads that came down, and that was kind of a long video. And then we did an update tour of the cut flower garden. And as things start waking up more and more, we'll do more and more tours. We did that one year, not last year, but the year before, we did monthly garden tours. And I mean, maybe that's something we should do, but it stressed me out for some reason.
Yeah, I don't think monthly being on a set schedule, but I do think we should try to do, I just want everybody to know that I try to push you to do more tours than what you want.
Yeah. And I think that I have this reservation about it because I want there to be pretty things to see when we do a tour, but that's not what gardening is about. And I know that, like, not all that gardening's about, because you know, a lot of us have times in our garden where it just doesn't look as good. And right now, especially for us with the area around the gazebo and the area up here, like that's going to start to be torn apart this week. And I'm looking out at the boxwoods. That's the only thing that I really just like kind of want to try to, I don't know where to put them though. No. That's the problem. Like we have this beautiful boxwood hedges that have been started up here, and they're just incredibly hard to move. And where are we going to move them?
I think we should just plant new ones. I don't think we should try to save the ones that are there. I think we should, if somebody wants them, we should put it on like Facebook, you know, Friends or Family or Facebook Marketplace.
Come and dig these out.
Yeah. But I think we should start fresh with new stuff.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. So we will be doing more tours. And my mom just called me the other night. She said, hey, you know all those tulips you planted in our containers? They're fully up. Like they've got complete coverage in terms of leaves on top of the soil, and the daffodils are coming up. So it's not going to be long before they're blooming. So she said she would let me know as soon as they start to open so that we can come out and at least if we don't do a specific tour, we can include them in a tour of, you know, that we do here. So anyway, we are thinking about that for sure. Darlene's Garden Channel said, aren't the Rudbeckias perennial? Not all of them, no. The ones I planted from seed in that video are all annual in our area. I mean, if I mulched them up hard, they might survive now that we're a little bit more mild and a zone 6, but I think I'd have to look them up. But are they a zone 7 type of Rudbeckia? I'm not sure. We do have like the classic Black-Eyed Susan Rudbeckias that are perennial here, excuse me, and are very tough. Desi Girl said, love the videos, just wondering, do you drink water? I only see coffee and soda ever. I drink a little water. I'm not the best example in the water drinking department. Coffee and Diet Pepsi are like my lifeblood. They always have been.
You couldn't do it just recently.
No, I had zero. Well, did I have any Diet Pepsi during pregnancy? I don't think I did. And then they said that you could have 1 cup of caffeinated coffee in a day. And so I just drank my 1 cup of coffee and I was within like the safe zone. And that's what I drank. But I always saved it, like when we were doing recap or doing a sit down video, I kind of like savor, like I planned for when I could have that cup of coffee because it's such a, I don't know. It's
a special time.
It's a special time of the day that we have to like, I don't know, it's sacred. I do drink some water though. I drank a ton while I was pregnant because I wanted ice so much. I wanted ice so much that they tested my iron levels thinking that they were low and they weren't. But I just wanted ice water, like 24/7 ice water. But I should probably drink more. I probably drink like 3 water bottles a day, maybe 4. Because I drink a lot of water in the morning and then at night. I drink a lot of water in the night. Mm-hmm. Like when I get up with Samantha. I hear you drinking water because Erin gets up with Samantha too. Mm-hmm. And both of us are just like taking water before and after.
Well, when you wake up in the middle of the night to feed her, I'm parched always. So I need to drink something.
Yeah, okay. Russell's like, hello, this is my video now. Okay. I would back down because I can't see the computer. Megan said, do you ever listen to music or podcasts or throw a show on while you're doing some of these longer tasks when you're in one spot, or do you revel in the quiet? I revel in the quiet. I don't listen to any podcasts.
But you do turn on shows.
I do turn on shows when I am doing like
menial tasks.
Yeah, I'll throw on a movie or something that I've already seen because I can just like catch little bits of it and like I know I'm not missing anything because I know what happens. Yeah, so I do throw on shows, but I really, when I'm outside, I don't throw on a show because I'm moving around too much. And I like the quiet. I like to know what's going on around me. I like to hear the birds. I like to like listen for my kids. Well, kid right now, but Benjamin, he'll come out and like join me while I'm doing some things in the garden, and so I can hear him. And I don't know. I've never been a big one to like put in earbuds. Like I don't even own a pair that are mine. Because I just like to be in the whatever. It's not being in the present.
Being in the zone.
It's being in the zone. Yeah, I guess in the zone. Mike said, how on earth do you have time for all this? The calendar, lists, labels, plans, newborn, toddler. Wow, you are goals. I am not goals. I have help. And we, like in the Cut Flower Garden tour, we did say how Paul has been a huge help out there to us. In fact, he's putting plastic on our high tunnels right now. And he's been working with us for about a year or so. We have Ken who helps with editing. We have help with the kids. So there's just no way. There's no way a person can do it all. And if somebody tries to make you think they can, they can't. It's just, there's like a, yeah.
There's only so much you can do in a day.
And I'm high energy and I get a lot done and there's no way that I can get it all done. And so I just don't want anybody thinking that like I'm over here like this superhuman person who is getting it all done, because I'm not. I have help, but I am trying to be very organized with the like list of seed starting, and I do I don't know, like there's a lot that we get done in a day, both you and I.
Yeah.
We work as hard as we can during the daylight hours, and I do feel like we get a lot done, but there's no way we could get it all done without the help, and we've got good help. Next video is pruning. I am like having some issues. Pruning climbing roses on a trellis, arbor, and obelisk. Oh, I'm trying really hard to say that one right. Top comment was from Lori. Am I the only one who finds these pruning videos therapeutic? No, I think there's a lot of people who do. In fact, Erin, there's that new flower bed we're creating on the new property that's got a ton of grass. I thought maybe I should set a camera up and just do a weeding video.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because there's nothing like the sound of a weed coming out of the ground. Like, if we could get a mic really close to that,
yeah,
I would watch. That would be like ASMR for me.
Right.
Like, just watching those weeds come up.
A lot of it is grass over there.
I know, but it's easy to pull.
I guess if it's grass you don't want, you call it a weed, huh?
Yeah, I started to pull it. It's not like normal grass. It's not long grass. It's like bunch grass. And it's easy to pull. I pulled a few last night, and I thought, maybe I should do that. So thumbs up if you want a weeding video. Christy said, thanks for the wonderful explanation. This will help as I'm planting up 2 very large trellises this year. Did you remove the lavender from around the garden? No, the lavender's there. It's just cut back. So you can't really see it. It's very short right now. But I am noticing some new growth coming already, which is so exciting. I'm so excited for things just to start growing. And I want flowers to cut to bring inside so much. Brandy said, would you be able to weave the laterals back into the structure it's climbing, or do you suggest cutting them every time? No, you can choose some laterals, like some strong laterals to weave back in if you don't have very many main canes coming from the bottom. Absolutely. Weave those laterals in and out if you can, and you'll get some growth and blooms off of those. Tracy said, have you ever dealt with rose rosette disease? I have not. I can't really speak to that. I know a lot of you guys have dealt with it, but I've never personally dealt with it in my garden. It's kind of like Japanese beetles. People ask all the time, like, can you speak on Japanese beetles? Can you speak about zone 10 gardening? Can you speak about the rose rosette disease? And it's so hard when I don't have experience doing that. Like, I could do the research and could talk to the growers, and that's something that we do on occasion.
Well, like, we work with Bonide, and they have a Japanese beetle killer.
Yeah.
And we've never used it or tried it.
I could say, like, here, you could try this.
Yeah, it might work.
Right. You would probably want to, I know that Impatient Gardener has done videos about Japanese beetle because she deals with it. And so I feel like people who are dealing with it and experienced with it firsthand are a much better voice than somebody who doesn't. So I'm sorry, I don't have a lot to say about that, the rose rosette disease. Keith said, Keith says, when do we get to see the new greenhouse? I hope soon. I want to see it too. It's on its way right now. The gazebo should be gone in the next couple weeks. Maybe. We'll see. And I don't know. We were out there last night, all four of us. So we had Samantha in her stroller, and she was awesome last night. I got a lot of weeding done, and she was all content, sleeping. And anyway, Benjamin was playing bubbles. Aaron was just kind of like my weeding moral support. Anyway, we were out there, and I told him, because we've got that little seating area on the brick patio that everybody wants to see gone. And we want to see it gone too, but we sit in that more than any other area outside of our house. And so we were talking about how we need to, like, we sit there more than the fireplace area.
I want to put like a little pavilion right there.
But then we were talking about the position of the Hartley. Yeah. We were talking about how with how much time we spend in that area of the garden, we should just face the Hartley toward that. But I think in the end, it should be faced toward the house probably, and be parallel with the house and the barn. In the end, design-wise, it will probably be better, because I think in the wintertime, there's so many months where we're looking at the garden from the inside that we'll enjoy seeing the Hartley from that position. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I think, and I like the pictures. Aaron was finding some pictures of some really beautiful kind of pergola, or is that what they're called?
Yeah,
so
it's
they're
like
roofed.
Yeah, and you can make them. You can make them different. You can make them more like a pergola, but
something that will protect the furniture a bit from
type
our massive amounts of rain.
If you type in pavilion ideas, you'll get a lot closer to what I like than if you typed in pergola ideas.
Well, I think you're right. I think it needs to be something that's like shading you. Yeah. Unless you plan to, plant some huge trees right from the very beginning. But anyway.
But it might be too close to I'm not sure that's a good place for it, just because of the proximity to the Hartley.
And the fireplace, and the chicken coop, and the barn, and the garden.
So maybe we can find a spot on the new property to put a pavilion.
I think it might be nice. It just depends on how big. Maybe just not a huge pavilion, just a little something to cover.
And I don't think it'd be that expensive to install either. Like, no, but really.
Every time we say, we don't think it's going to be very expensive, I'm like, we get the bill. I'm like, oh man.
But if you look at it, I mean, it's kind of like a gazebo in a way. I mean, like you could call the gazebo like a pavilion. It's just like the gazebo is not the style.
I think you think it's not expensive because we're not dealing with heat, air, like insulation,
it's just all
water.
open.
It's all open. It's just a freestanding structure. We haven't put one of those up. It probably isn't as expensive as some of the other things we've done. Sarah said, can you pruse a rose midwinter? Did I say pruse a rose? What? Did I say that?
I don't know.
Now? If I did, let me read the question again. Can you prune a rose midwinter? I would not. You can, but you're going to open up your rose to some risk of winter damage if you live in a winter area that's harsher. If you live in a very mild area, you may get away with it. A lot of times I would do my rose cleanup in the fall, but it was always a little bit earlier and it wasn't getting super cold. They had a little bit of a chance to acclimate and get ready for the winter before the really cold temperatures set in. I would occasionally have a little bit of dieback, but not much. We did all of ours. Still doing it right now. We're doing it all this spring because I feel like it's a little bit better on the plants, and honestly, we just got around to it later this year. But that is the recommended time to do it later, like late winter, early spring, when you're past the super cold. Anyway. Mary said, is it just me or does the audio and video sound and look different today? That is a question for you, Erin. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think it probably looked different because it's been a long time since like I've filmed you with one of the nicer cameras.
Oh, I usually am vlogging by myself.
Yeah.
Like I'm usually setting up all the cameras like a lot of the time now.
So I think that was the difference is that, I don't know, the audio shouldn't be a whole lot different, but the video.
Maybe it's just the whole look of it kind of just was a throw off a bit.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've used nicer cameras outside.
Mm-hmm. Whenever we do a video that's like multiple projects in one, I'm usually always the one filming myself.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's something very specific like that, then oftentimes
especially
you're out there.
like I call it tromboning. If you ever need to like kind of go in and out, it's a lot easier for you to be doing the work and I can hold the camera and then you're free of the camera. You don't have to hold it with one hand.
Yeah, that's tough.
Or whatever.
Because then oftentimes I'll do something, I'm like, dang it, I didn't have focus.
Yeah.
So let me find another branch. Hopefully there's another one I can show, where I've got
It's easier
focus.
to have a different person focusing on that.
Next video was early spring flower planting. So I planted up 5 containers in that video. The 1 urn on our west side, the Galloway urn, and then the 2 urns by our back shade porch, the 2 pots by our vegetable garden. And the urn, I used some interesting stuff, some ferns and hellebores, beet, pansies. But the other 2 were pretty simple, but they weren't simple in the fact that I wanted to put evergreens in them. And I think that if we can shift a little bit more of our containers to evergreen centerpieces, they look so pretty in the wintertime. And then I don't miss them being empty all the time. And then also I don't have to plant a centerpiece every single time I do a container. And it does, in the end, save if you can keep those investment evergreens alive. Boxwoods typically do really well for us as centerpieces. So I use some spirals in the back shade porch pots and some spherical ones in the vegetable pots, and then just planted pansies underneath them, which I like in the spring. I like simplicity because you guys know what we do in the summer, and it's like with flowers and you can't see the containers anymore. And sometimes I think it's refreshing to not have spillers, just to be able to see the beauty of the container, because we do have beautiful containers and I like to see them. Mm-hmm. So top comment was from Danielle, said, I absolutely love that Loris is fresh instead of cold. Yes. It was fresh.
Feeling fresh outside.
Yes. It's kind of feeling fresh today a little bit. We're expecting a storm. It's looking a little bit like, I wanted to plant seeds, but then I'm like, so should I do that? If we get a pounding rain, it's going to dislodge all my seeds.
Yeah, probably should wait.
Which means I have to transplant stuff, and I really don't. I need to transplant some things from around the gazebo, and I want to, but I don't want to because that means some big holes I need to dig. Anyway. Got to be in the mood to transplant big things. Let's see, the rest of that comment. And the smile on her face when Benjamin is helping her plant the pansies. So awesome. I love when Benjamin comes out and he loves to have a job. He loves it. Like if you give him a bottle of cleaner and some paper towels in the house, he'll go around and he'll like clean the glass and he'll show you. And he'll go by you and be like, excuse me, he did that to me this morning. He had a bottle of cleaner and some paper towels. And I was standing by a door and he just said, excuse me, mama. And he came by and then started cleaning the glass at the door. I love that.
He needs to clean the glass. He puts a lot of fingerprints and
he does.
Breath marks on there.
Yeah. Monica said, hellebores are almost impossible to find at my local nurseries in the Minneapolis area. I wonder why. I think hellebores are they've been gaining popularity big time over the last few years, and I notice people using them more and more. And there's some people who used to say I don't like them because I can't see their blooms, they face down, that are now planting them in their gardens because they are more popular. And there are some varieties that do face up now, but I think that people are just more interested in the plant as a whole. So I think some people are a little bit slow in they are harder to grow because they are a lot slower. So I think a lot of growers are starting to amp up production, and you're just maybe not seeing them as quickly. But in the Minneapolis area, I would assume that you would have a lot of option for local garden centers, like different garden centers. I would check around because I know a lot of our even box stores are carrying them now. Dandelion History said, are you allergic to any plants? No. Only thing I'm allergic to is penicillin that I know about. If so, how do you garden during the allergy season? Now, my mom is allergic to grass pollen. You should see her. Bless her heart, when she has an allergy attack outside and she's just doubled over with sneezing. Yeah. And she gardens for a living. They sell, when they get in the grass seed bins, my mom's kind of like, okay, I need to back away because it's that dust off the seed. Anyway, I'm not allergic to anything outside that I know about. Glenda said, when the house is painted, will it be white or a different color? Definitely white. It'll be white with black accents still. We really like that look. And it needs it so badly in so many different areas because it's just started. I don't know how long it's been since it's been painted. I know the previous owners probably did it at some point.
I think I remember when we bought the house, the previous owner said, we put a new roof on just a couple years ago, so that should be good for a long while, but it's probably going to be painted soon. And that was like 5 years ago.
I bet you that they had it painted right or shortly after they moved in. They did a ton of work to the inside of the house. And I'm sure that they had it painted on the outside at one point, but it was probably early on. They owned it for about 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. Before we bought it. But it is due because there are some areas, especially on the old side of the house, where the paint's chipping off and it's starting to look a little bit shabby. Like in the first few years, I would get out the can of white paint. They were so great. Every single color of paint they had in this house, they had an extra thing of it and they had it labeled in the basement. Everybody should do that. Like when you're painting a room, even just get like a little one, like a little quart or something with the label on it so that people can touch up, like if they ding the wall or whatever. So, but there's only so much of painting over like chippy paint that I can do. Mm-hmm. And I've done it like up here on the sun porch. I've gone around to the pillars and stuff like around the new side of the house and like painted the bases of the pillars because they're really bad. But anyway, yep, white with black accents. Cheryl said, Laura, this is my kind of video. One question, do you have a hole in the bottom of that urn? Are you concerned about rain filling up the bowl? No, all of those have drainage. The Galloway urn has a hole through the bowl and then it goes all the way down through the center of the pillar. It's awesome. Some of the water does leak out though. Unless I would go in and
putty it better
or fill it with silicone, so that all the water went down the actual drain hole. Some of it does come out the bowl and goes down because it's 2 pieces and goes down the pillar, but that can be avoided once you get it in the spot you want it. I really should.
We should just do silicone
before summer plantings.
Yeah, just lift up the bowl, do a good layer, and then set it back down. I'll bet that would seal it just fine.
Yeah. Adriana said, I don't see that you ever plant or use cyclamens. I love them. Do they just not do well in your zone? I don't know what zone cyclamens are. I think that we were like at a zone 5. Maybe we were too cold. I don't know. As houseplants, they're beautiful, but they're just they die really fast for me. I don't think, even when I was taking care of them more, like I was taking care of them at the garden center, so like it was my job, I still didn't do very well with cyclamens. They always got yellow leaves and... Do
you think maybe they're not very suitable for alkaline soil? Or alkaline water?
That could be. I don't know. Let me look up a growing zone for cyclamen. Oh, hardy to zone 5. Oh. So I should be able to plant them. Let's see. What kind of... They are moderately drought tolerant, very long lived, and thrive with very little care.
Maybe that's the problem.
Maybe I care for them too much?
Did you love them too much?
Let's see. Soil type for cyclamen. It's not something that anybody grows around here. They like acidic soil. Yep. So that's probably why. I think I just haven't tried them because nobody grows them around here. Maybe I should try.
Well, if they like acidic soil, you're not going to have
but what if I did like soil acidifier? It's kind of like trying to grow blueberries.
But you got alkaline water.
Yeah,
it's going to be a constant battle.
Maybe it's worth the battle outside. Most plants do better outside because every plant is native to outside somewhere. And when we try to make them houseplants, they're all like, there's a lot of plants that will do it as houseplants, but they all really flourish outside if given the right conditions. Last comment was from Suzanne. I noticed you added fertilizer when planting. Do you also fertilize throughout the spring like you do with your summer containers? I don't in the spring. Spring is just like you put in your slow release fertilizer and you just let them be. It's such a short season for containers, like 2 months, maybe 2.5 months tops before we plant summer. It's just not worth it. And a lot of them aren't heavy feeders. In the summer, we're using supertunias, we're using sweet potato vines, superbenas. All those things want a lot of food to perform the way they perform. And we're gonna do some experimenting though this year because I would really love to not have to fertilize on a weekly basis, even if we could go every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So I've been adding flower tone into the soil and we're gonna just see how it goes. I think we might do some side-by-side testing. I think if we do any kind of, like the flower alley, we did that experiment last year, and that was fun. Used too many plants, and I thought, like, here I am using 3 plants, thinking this is like a great experiment because I never plant just 3 plants in a container, but they got way too big for the size of containers we put in. And
1 plant per pot.
Yeah, but I think we should do 1 plant per pot and then do like no fertilizer, flower tone, weekly water soluble fertilizer.
Yeah.
Is there any other control we would need to
yeah,
add
you
in?
could do a lot of different ones. You could do drought. You could do, like measuring which, but then like you get into combinations of like, well, this one was given a little bit less water, but more fertilizer. This one was given less fertilizer.
So just a fertilizer test.
Probably just a fertilizer test.
Like everything's watered the same soil, same plant, fertilize it differently, see what happens.
Yeah.
Because if we could figure out a way to make it easier on ourselves and easier for everybody else out there, oh, that's awesome.
With the same success.
With the same, success. Next video was the update tour of our new cut flower garden area. It is coming together fast out there, way faster than last year. It's so exciting because this is going to be our permanent space. So Aaron has tilled. We showed you that. We showed you the mulch. In the tour area, video, the new changes that had happened was there were some vertical posts for the fences going in the back around the orchard. The dahlia supports are in and the irrigation was mostly in. It's all done now. And the fence is pretty much done too. It just needs to be stained in some areas. So we'll do another tour here soon. But it is just so exciting. I'm so excited about this space. Like,
it'll be a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, like more excited than I don't even know, but I just am really
I'm just real excited.
so excited about that area. Anyway, we wanted to make sure to show you every step of the process and what we're doing so that, we can all learn from it, because we did learn that about drip spacing last year and what worked and what didn't work. And we did mostly how we had it set up. So we're kind of doing the same thing, but spacing things differently. Anyway, Debbie said, I bet your neighbors are so happy to see this going in rather than more houses. It's going to look amazing. I hope so. They all seem to be very pleased. And just know, we did build that 6-foot fence with some walls on the backside, or on the sides, to line up all of our palletized items, like our mulch and our soil, and everything is very organized back there. But no house can see it from their windows. So one of our neighbor's house that we bought the land from, the barn can see it, but their house can't. So our stuff is looking at the back of their barn stuff, which is like a propane tank and stacks of wood and stuff like that. So it's very compatible. We tried to be very careful about where we were placing things back there, so as to be respectful of everybody's view. But I think that they're excited. And in fact, a lot of our neighbors came over last year and cut flowers from the garden. And I want more of that this year, just because I know now how things grow and how often they need to be cut. So the more the merrier out there. And if they can benefit from it, then that's awesome. We have really good neighbors. We're very thankful. Christy said, will you place the high tunnel in permanently like your cold frame near the barn, or keep it like you did last year near the flower garden? So what we've done, Paul figured it out. We were out there stepping it off and thinking, it's a 50 by 14 high tunnel. That's quite long. So when Paul went out there and marked it out, he actually broke it in half. So not broke it, but divided it in two. So now we have two 25-foot cold frames instead of one big long one.
More like a 20. Because you lose that bow in the middle.
Oh.
When you break it in half, which is okay.
They look so cute. There's these cute little stubby high tunnels. They're totally temporary. We could take them down at any point. Like I said, he's putting plastic up right now. I can see him doing it. And then we'll put some shade cloth on them. We won't use as heavy a shade cloth. What do you think we'll do? Did we do 60 last year?
Yeah, we did 60. We'll do 30 this year.
Yeah, so just to take the edge off the sun for our shrubs, but not provide too much shade. And those, it's going to be nice because those will be protected a little bit from wind from the fence and the orchard. So I don't think things will fall over as much as they did last year. I think it's all a good improvement. But that isn't permanent. Eventually we might put in something more permanent, in which case we would probably do cedar shakes on it and try to elevate the look of it just a little bit. Because right now they are plastic high tunnels, which I don't mind because that means exciting things to me. But if something's permanent, you can definitely, like our other cold frame, I love the look of the front of it with the shakes. It just makes it look more cozy. Laura P said, you talked about staining the fence black. Why don't you like the look of natural wood? What a nice plan. I can't wait to see it grow. I do like the look of natural wood. I'm just trying to keep in the spirit of all of our other things, like trying to make everything match and be cohesive. So we have the black fence and arbors around our vegetable garden up here. I kind of wanted the same black fence back there. Everything is white with black accents around here, except for the cedar shake cold frame, but that's a different look entirely.
Would it look weird to paint that black? The front of the...
I think so.
It'd be too
harsh.
Yeah, it'd be like
I
too
think.
much.
This one will be heavily...
Can you paint it white?
Yeah. Oh, the shakes?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think white would be better than black, probably. But I think natural is best for that. I don't know. But this one will be heavily shrouded because we'll have the orchard in front of it, and eventually when those trees get bigger, you won't really see the main part of the fence. You'll just see the picket part. And we are going to build a little shed in the middle of the orchard that will mirror our house a little bit. White with black accents, probably. Yeah, keep it all matching. Hartley will have the white metal, like...
Right.
Yeah. Laura said, thanks for the info on what you're using for irrigation in the cut flower garden. I've been wondering, would you irrigate your raised vegetable beds with drip tape if you didn't already have the drip tubing in place? Or is that drip tape is better for long row style garden growing and drip tube is better for intensive raised bed growing? I mean, you could definitely use drip tape in a situation like ours.
I think she's correct, though. I think that's exactly correct. That for long runs, I think drip tape just works better for
Oh, it does, because you can run
spaces.
so many feet of it.
It's low flow, so you can run way more of it than
Right.
the other stuff. I think the stuff that we use, you can only go like 10, 15 feet.
Right, which for our tiny
all
little
you
raised
need in a-
beds,
yeah, in a raised bed, it's
fine. And honestly, like the drip tape, I could use it in those raised beds and I wouldn't mind the look of it, but I think they take up a little bit more space than that 1/4 inch drip tubing, so that 1/4 inch is really easy to weave in and out of plants. So space-wise, I think it works better to use the 1/4 inch here, but who knows? Like, we have a bunch of drip tape, and if that starts like crapping out on us for some reason, we could use the drip tape.
It does take more fittings if you were going to do drip tape.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Because you would need
right now I'm using one coupler and one ender.
Yeah, you would need like 2 or 3 takeoff valves. You'd need 1/2 inch pipe, adapters,
yeah,
enders.
the configuration would be way more intense.
It would take a lot more adapters in order to make the drip tape work. You could totally do it, and we're talking like pennies for each of these adapters too. So it's not like
right.
It's not like it breaks the bank.
Yeah. Okay. Sarah said, thanks for all the information. Can you explain why you are using drip tape in the cut flower garden instead of the drip tubing you use around the house? So that's a different question, because the drip tubing we use around the house is the brown 1/2 inch drip tubing with holes every 18 inches. We use that around the house because it lasts a lot longer. The drip tape we're using, we did get the 15 mil, so it's a little thicker than some of the other drip tapes, but it is something that won't last as long as the 1/2 inch brown poly. The drip tape in the garden space, you can run it longer than the 1/2 inch brown poly, and it's a lot less expensive. So that's why we decided to go with it in the cut flower garden rather than the 1/2 inch brown poly that we use around the house. You also can't curve. You can't curve the drip tape. You can curve the brown 1/2 inch poly. So there's just like those little things. Like the drip tape, you can only go in straight lines, which most flower beds you can do that.
I think there are right angle adapters that you can get for drip tape. So if you wanted to use adapters, you could
do it like a square.
Yeah, you can do a square. You can do a 90
instead
but
of
you can't
doing a curve.
It. Yeah.
Which I think most of our flower beds, even our curvy ones, you could make drip tape work.
Yeah.
It would just be a configuration kind of nightmare.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't last as long. So all that work for how long it would last with our hard water.
Yeah.
You know. PK Metzger said, what kind of adapter did you use after your pressure regulator? Well, you would just want to use whatever kind of adapter you would need to go from ours, it was a 3/4.
Get the one you need.
Well, I mean, I was about ready to explain it. Okay. So ours ended with a 3/4 inch thread. So you would need to find an adapter that had a 3/4 inch thread that adapted it down to 1/2 inch black poly tubing. And everybody's system is going to be different. There's so many different pressure regulators you can get too.
Yeah, you can get hose thread, you can get pipe thread, and then depending,
1 inch,
maybe
3/4
you're
inch,
not
5/8
gonna,
inch. There's so many
maybe you're
different.
not going to use 1/2 inch. Maybe you need to go farther than we went,
Yeah.
and so you need to use 3/4 inch poly pipe. So you need to get an adapter that goes from a 3/4 inch pressure regulator pipe fitting to a 3/4 inch poly. So you really just, as you're building it yourself, there's no one way to do it. There's a million ways that you can build it to work.
And it's frustrating. We get that. Irrigation can be one of the most frustrating things in the garden. And the more you do it, the more you get to know it, and the more it makes sense to you,
really
honestly,
need to go to like an irrigation place. Like we have a place about 10 minutes away called Pipe Co. And they have a ton of stuff. And they're very helpful too. Like if you ask them questions, they'll totally help you. Yeah, they'll help you build your system. But you can also go to Home Depot or Lowe's, and you just need to stand there and look at all the boxes and kind of like build it standing there.
We've
just
been
like
there
put
so
things,
many times.
Yeah, start to twist things together, see if they fit. and then get the things that you need as you're like trying to order things online for the first time. You'll never win.
Man. Well, and I don't know. It's hard. We've tried to do irrigation videos. We have in the past. Like, this is how we do our drip from a faucet. This is how we set up our containers on drip. But it's incredibly difficult because everybody's system, one is different. Their parts they have access to are different. Just everything like is so subject, and everybody's project's different too. So you just like.
Hopefully, our videos are more of just a springboard for people to kind of get the ball rolling. It's not a how-to
like,
on how to do it.
Familiarize, like, okay, that's what the pipe looks like, you know, or I need to look for a pressure regulator. Just knowing that you need to have a pressure regulator, I think, is a step in the right direction. But yeah, irrigation is incredibly subjective. It's a hard one. Bethany said, I have a row of Arborvitae lining my property too. What is your watering fertilizer routine for your Arborvitae? We use Plant Tone. So boxwood and Arborvitae are the only two evergreens that we use Plant Tone on rather than like Holly Tone or Evergreen Tone, because they're actually better with Plant Tone. And like Espoma says that, like use Plant Tone on these two. So we do that once a year. Aaron's kind of like pet project is the Arborvitae. So
I do the Jim Putnam method.
just handfuls and throw it at the ground.
Just like toss it at the base.
Yeah. Hey, a fertilized plant is better than a non-fertilized plant in most cases. In most cases. And then you have the water set up, so I'm not sure what you've done. Whatever you've done has been great.
Our Arborvitae line has 3/4 inch poly all the way down, and the reason I did that is because I thought 1/2 inch might be too small to go the distance, because I think it's like 420 feet.
On both runs?
Just the longest run.
Okay, so we've got 1/2 inch black poly on our current North Poles, which are doing
great.
Oh, I was walking by them last night and I was so proud of them.
Yeah.
Just thinking that I'm so glad we put in, like, the best kind of hedge is the one that you planted last year, you know, or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. And I'm so glad that we did that. So, I'm sorry, I don't think we actually answered how often are you running the arbs? Like just this one, for example.
Oh, man.
Like every 3 days now?
I think I water them every other day, honestly.
Really?
Arbs are pretty thirsty.
Well, we are hot and dry here, so
we're
keep that in
hot
mind.
and dry.
We don't get very much rain.
I have found that you can water them quite a bit. Yeah. In fact, I think that's one of the reasons that we have pretty good success is because I keep that area pretty moist over there. They get
because it's at the bottom of because that flower bed is a little bit sloped.
Yeah.
So they get all the excess drip.
Right
there. It's pretty saturated soil.
Yeah. I think arbs are very shallow rooted, a lot more shallow rooted than people think. Like around here, some people try to plant arbs and then don't run water to them, and then of course they just die right away.
Okay, so Liz said, can you leave the drip tape in place over winter if you take the end cap off so the lines can drain?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we stored all of ours from last year just in a pile.
Yeah.
Like a long pile.
You wouldn't even need to take the end caps off if you didn't want to.
Because all the water just naturally soaks out of them anyway. Soaks out of them? Drains out of them.
Yeah.
Okay, next video was new load of plants at the garden center. That was like a complete last minute video. My mom called, she's like, we got 3 new trucks. So we decided we got to go down there, and I thought you guys might like to see what was going on. Beth said, top comment, haha, Samantha Grace is at home sleeping, not by herself. That cracks me up. Sad that anyone would think you left your baby at home alone. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at what people think.
I've seen a lot of comments of people saying, I really hope Samantha isn't asleep inside alone.
Never. She's never unattended. She's never without an adult. And it is quite sad that anybody would think that we would do that. Like, go down to the garden center and leave Samantha. Oh, she's sleeping. She's good for a while. Like, really?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Anyway, Anthony said, do you recommend I buy plants from my local garden center or Lowe's or Home Depot? The price at the garden center is a lot more than the department stores. Well, of course, I always recommend local garden center. That's my background. And there's something about a local garden center. Usually you can get much better information. So you may be paying a little bit more for a plant. Sometimes the roots are graded. So like a grade A root or a grade 1 root. And a lot of times local garden centers are buying higher quality plants. So you're going to be paying a little bit more for that. Sometimes they can't buy in quantities like big box stores either. So there's that. I mean, box stores are getting a huge discount when they buy for all of their, I don't know, thousands of stores across the country. Local garden centers do not have that advantage. But you are oftentimes buying, like I just said, from people who garden, who like plants, who know what they're doing. So you're buying their expertise as well because they can help you out. And I mean, I see those reader boards that say like, you know, buy local because you're paying for ballet lessons for somebody's kid. That is so true. Like, I think about the people who supported my parents' garden center throughout my childhood, you know, and my parents bought me piano lessons, you know, and my dad did work extra, though. He had a side hustle. He would fertilize lawns for people or do grub control on lawns. And I remember I loved to go with him when he'd do that in the evenings or weekends in the season. And so he would work extra so that we could have a little bit, you know, we'd have more to go, like camping or soccer uniforms or whatever. But you are definitely supporting a family rather than supporting, you know, I don't know. That's just my background. So
it keeps the money local. You know what I mean? As opposed to if you spend at Home Depot, it goes to
the whole job thing. I'm like, well, this is employing local people too. Even the box stores, like they're all jobs for people who are local. So the job thing for me is like, but like what you're supporting is another thing to me. So anyway, yes. Next question is from Brian and Tammy. I love Andrews. What happens to the plants left over after the season is over? Well, they are all stored. So they're all in the cold frame, or like last year and the year before, I think they had the least amount of plants to winter over that they ever have. And so whatever is left, they just kind of line up either in the cold frame or along the tree racks and then put bags of soil around them for insulation. And then they just grow on the next year. Rachel said, you look like a pro driving that forklift. How many different kinds of machines do you know how to operate? Ever had any interesting incidents? Ever have any interesting incidents? Yes. So I can drive a forklift like a boss. I can drive a forklift. Like forklift races, I think I would do pretty well. I didn't do very well in the beginning. So this is how I learned. My dad put a huge stack of pallets out in the middle of like nowhere. And he told me to take one pallet off at a time. So start at the top, take that off, go stack it over there. And then when you're done making your pile, take that stack and do one pallet at a time and put it back where you got it. And that was really good education. It took me forever because, you know, you're operating the forks, you're going back and forward, you're lining stuff up so your stack doesn't fall over. There was a time when I accidentally tore the side of the Quonset wall off because I forgot I had a big nursery table on top. And this is after I knew what I was doing, but sometimes you forget. I had a big nursery table on top of the forks and I had it raised way high so I could see underneath it. And I started backing up, not realizing that the doors weren't open all the way. And I caught one of the sides with the table and kind of popped one of the big beams out of the floor. Anyway, one of the guys came running over and he just kind of popped it back in. He's like, I think this has happened before. So I think he was either trying to make me feel better about it or it truly had happened before. It was an easy fix. And then another time I had a big stack, I can't remember even of what. I could not see in front of me. And I was trying to raise the pallet just so I could see underneath it. And I caught the top of a door coming out of our chemical shed. And you can still see it. It's all damaged. That was me. I did that damage to that door. So there was that. I don't think I ever did anything else. Everybody's had incidents though.
You ripped the door off of a truck one time.
Well, that was not a forklift, though.
No, but it was other machinery.
Well, okay, so that truck was one of the garden center trucks, and I put it in park, but I didn't realize that the needle didn't move properly, and it looked like it was in park, but it wasn't. It was in neutral, and I got out of the truck, and I left the door open because I was just going to run and grab something. I left it open, and it started rolling backward toward their shop, the shop at Andrews, and there's a big AC unit right there, and so I ran. I had sandals on at the time. I ran, broke my sandals, and almost pinched myself between the door and the building. I was pregnant with Benjamin at the time. I remember laying in bed that night being thankful that I was still alive. But it did rip the door off the truck, and it damaged. They had to put a brand new door in, the belly buster.
I probably have a picture of that.
That's like triggering to me. But yeah, that was
I'll
partially
put it in
my
after
fault.
you've reviewed the video.
But I did put it in park. And I didn't know the needle didn't work properly, so it was in neutral. Anyway, I can drive our tractor, kind of.
You almost tipped it a couple times.
It's just whatever. Okay, I do better on the ground. Feet on the ground for
and we
Laura.
have a flat property, too.
Flat property. It was because I was trying to get a fence post out of the ground.
Like somehow you figured out how to tip it over on a flat surface.
There was big hills of dirt out there, remember?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. you suppose. Okay. Anyway, Lacey said, if one were able and excited to drive 6 hours to Andrews, when do you think the best time of the season is to do that? May. When is the garden center bursting with inventory? May. May is the best month at any garden center, I would imagine. I think the busiest day of the garden center for every garden center is Mother's Day weekend. Like that Saturday is just insanity.
Not recommending you come during that weekend.
But it'll be the most full of inventory.
Yeah.
That week and the weeks after. I think May as a whole is a really good month. Laura said, I get why you bought the trees, but I don't understand why you keep buying all the smaller plants when you have a whole cold frame full of them. It's because I have a problem. Plant Addiction Anonymous. I'm not trying to sound negative or anything. I have just been wondering this for a while now. You're probably not the only one. A lot of the stuff that we have in the cold frame are like, I'll have 10 of one thing or 15 of one thing, so it looks like I have a ton of variety, and I have a lot of variety, but it's a lot of one thing, and they're slated for a specific project, and we have a huge space to fill. So I'm like, whatever I can pick up down at the garden center to fill some space, like, we're good to go with that. But it is because I like plants, and that's the one thing that I hoard, are plants. I hoard nothing else in my life, I don't think. Do I hoard anything else? I'm pretty good at like clearing stuff out.
Yeah.
Plants are my vice. So it's a good thing we have a plant channel. What's considered a specimen tree versus a regular tree? Sorry if that's a dumb question. Not a dumb question. Specimen trees, we kind of just refer to them as more unique, more rare varieties that we don't get a lot of, that take a long time to grow. So they're typically more expensive plants. They might be more architectural. Like you get your run-of-the-mill like globe willows. Those are not a specimen tree. Those are just like, you know, you line them up and they, I don't know. They're more like staple, like burning bushes or barberries, or I would even say boxwoods. They're not a specimen plant. They're like regular plants that are grown in mass quantities, so they're easy to find, but the specimen things are those things that are just more special. That's the best way I think I can explain that. Okay, and the very last video, this is probably still going to be a really long video, even though you only picked like a handful of questions.
That's why.
I talk too much. Yeah. Trimming butterfly bushes and roses and transplanting lavender. So it was just a work afternoon in the garden. I wanted to make sure that you guys knew to trim your butterfly bushes now. When they start to break dormancy and push leaves, then you can see where the strongest set of buds are. It's just very important, especially on those larger varieties of butterfly bushes, to trim them in the spring, and that way you don't end up with second story plants, which means that because they bloom on new wood, if you don't trim them, they'll grow really tall and you'll just have blooms right along the very top edge of the plant instead of down below where you kind of need to see them from ground level. Anyway, then I trimmed up some roses, and then I transplanted the sweet romance lavender from in front of our gazebo to in front of the chicken coop. Top comment was from Green Thumbelina. Hey guys, how's it going? This is absolute music to my ears and the perfect way to start a new week. That's sweet. Thank you, Margie. Virginia said, when and how to trim a laggy new hydrangea. Leggy. It's supposed to be leggy. It says laggy.
Okay.
So I was like, is that a word I should know? Leggy new hydrangea. It depends on the type of hydrangea you have. If it is an arborescens or paniculata type hydrangea, you can trim it now. If it is a macrophylla or serrata, if it's leggy, you can trim it, but you might be you will be forfeiting some blooms. There are some kinds of serratas and macrophyllas that will bloom on old wood and new wood. So you may still get new blooms depending on what variety you have, but the standard macrophylla or big leaf type of hydrangeas, or serratas, which are mountain hydrangeas, the standard ones typically only bloom on old wood. So if you trim them in the spring, you will be trimming off buds for this year's blooms, which sometimes doesn't matter. Sometimes we need to trim stuff up to make them look good architecturally, and we forfeit a year of blooms in order for the betterment of the plant as a whole in terms of shape. So you just kind of have to make that judgment call on your own. Tommy said, our butterfly bush has a lot of wind damage from the blizzard this year. Is it okay to take it all the way to the ground? I'd say yes. I'd say you could do that. Joanne Bishop said, is there a reason why you trim the plants after transplanting them? I would have thought it would have been better and easier to trim them back before digging them. Well, probably. But you know.
Just did what you did.
I just did what I did. Sometimes with the canopy of the plant, like this is a total excuse, and maybe this is not why I don't think I actually thought this, but when you dig them and put them in place when they still have their growth, you can kind of see like how far to space them.
Oh, sure.
That's a reason why you wouldn't do it.
There you go.
I don't know why I did it that way. Just whatever, I don't know. Becky said, the boxwood in the container behind Aaron, what kind is that? I need one that grows sort of fat like that.
I think that's the macaroon.
The macaroon boxwood? That was the boxwood that was in the front flower bed that Aaron and I dug out. Everybody said I killed it and it was going to die because we really didn't try. We did not try to get a very good root ball. It came out like with like little... I wonder if we have footage of that.
Yeah.
Really?
We've got some footage of the project. I don't know how good a footage it is.
But either way, you can see it was big and established when we dug it up. We planted it in a pot, and it's still living. It's a winter gem boxwood that's just been trimmed into kind of like this
we should go back to the comments and like find specific people to shame who said that, because there were a couple who were like, "You killed it for sure."
Right. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, "Well, you might be right," but not in this case. Nanner. Katie said, maybe you said this and my brain isn't retaining all the information. Will you need to remove all the plants and trees around the gazebo in order for it to be removed and the Hartley put in place? We probably will remove all the plants in the immediate surrounding area. Like the ones in the back by the driveway. In fact, you'll see it in a video this week. Because I'm transplanting today and we'll probably film it. The ones in the very back flower bed, I don't know how disturbed they're actually going to be because there's a huge access into the lawn right there. And as long as people can get their equipment all the way around that gazebo area, the immediate area, I think will be fine. But everything in that immediate area will need to go. It'll either need to be dug up and transplanted or it'll just perish from the wheels and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway. Jennifer said, should you prune the microchip small buddleia? You can, just to keep the growth very strong so that you're cutting off any weak buds. But those smaller ones that stay like 1.5 feet or 2 feet high, we're not as worried about not being able to see the blooms because you'll always be looking down at them. But I would definitely say a good just kind of like general cleanup just to take the weaker buds off the ends is a good idea. And Diane said, love your joy and enthusiasm. Can you help with a kneeling pad recommendation, brand or size? So I used to use one it was a Tomico brand. It was red. It was like this big around. It was gel. It was like kind of this gel material. And we went and did a project at Aaron's parents' house and I put it in the back of the truck to come home. I think it flew out. And they don't make it anymore, which is so sad. They make the small ones, which the reason I liked the big red one is because oftentimes I put my knees on it, but also my ankles, like I sit back on my legs and it like fit me. I could fit my whole self on it and protect even my ankles. And so now I've been using a Gardener's Supply one that's like 2 or 2.5 inches thick, and it's also large, so I can also kneel on it. And the only problem with the foam ones, it lasts for quite a while, and it's comfortable to use, but eventually, especially when it gets hot out, the handle starts to get weak and it starts to want to break. The more you use it, and grab it by that, the more it weakens it, which is obvious. It's just wear and tear. So oftentimes you'll find ours with like duct tape around the handle to kind of try to make them last a little bit longer. But we'll link that one down below because that's the best one I have found up to this point, after that Tomico one. And that's it for today's questions. Thank you guys all so much for all of your comments, for watching our videos this week. We've got a lot of fun stuff, like so much fun stuff that I'm thinking, Aaron, we need to post 2 videos a day.
No way.
Many, I planted up the kitchen window box last night and it was so sweet and pretty. I posted pictures of it and I told Aaron, every time I don't film a video on something, I always love the results so much better than when I actually film the video. And there are so many things that I could film around here. Like we could just have videos 24/7 this time of year, but anyway. Sometimes, though, it does slow down the process.
We might have some extra videos coming out on the highlights channel. I've had Paul recently take a GoPro out with him when he does some projects like running the drip and putting up the high tunnel and stuff like that. So we may have a little bit extra. There won't be any talking. It'll just be like kind of watching it be done. And
there may be some, like if I do a weeding video, that might be a good highlights video. Like maybe we'll do it and just see if you guys like it, and because it's something that needs to be done. I need to get out there and weed it. Yeah. Kind of excited too. Those areas that are really weedy, kind of satisfying to do it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you're having a great day. Have a great week, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.